Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and yesterday I chopped first place in the tournament. So I had a FlyQuest and Immortal stack. FlyQuest you could have stacked with Dignitas, so I figured that would be the much more popular owned stack. I was correct. I only chopped this with two other people, and it's pretty funny because I remember during the lineup making process, I picked Team Liquid as the team over Cloud9 as the team because I thought that in order for TL to win, it was more likely that the game would be a long drawn out game, and I was right. But at the end of the day, the difference maker was in the last fight between FlyQuest, or in the last fight between Immortals and Dignitas. Alorim teleported to the base to end the game, meaning the rest of his team needed to stop Dignitas from backing. And during that exchange, Ashe died. And Ashe dying, I'm pretty sure, was the difference. And Ashe dying and the top tower not being taken were the difference. So pretty crazy. It just shows you how close the outcomes are. Which is one of the frustrating things about League of Legends is you can have the right team, but since it's a parlay within a parlay, you don't always hit. And like I've had a few close ones recently, but finally got back into the winner's circle, so very happy about that. So let's move ahead to what happened tonight. So today we had basically all of the favorites. V5 beat JDG. I guess I could go through that. I'm not really planning on going through I'm not planning on going through that too closely. I was gonna do top esports and RNG because this was the biggest upset of the night. I actually had a lineup with RNG, but it was paired with JDG. So basically, my thoughts going into last night were that JDG was going to go under-owned relative to how often they would win. And I was thinking that since V5 is messing around with their AD carry, maybe they're more similar to last year's V5 or last split's V5. That was a very thin way to go about it because I knew that it was very unlikely that they were going to revert as a team back to that point when they really only when they all still swapped out 3 players. So it's like Bu and Wei Wei reduced the variance of the team, whereas in the past the jungler was not as good. So it was a pretty thin angle to play. But in the RNG match, when I was building lineups last night, I started thinking to myself that RNG would have a shot because talent-wise, RNG is they're not that close to top esports, but they're close where it matters. So Xiaohu, I still think Xiaohu's a very talented mid laner, and depending on matchups, you can get into good spots against Knight. So I think that 369 obviously had a big talent discrepancy over New, or big talent advantage over New. Karsa against Xiaolong Bao. Karsa is the more proven player, but Xiaolong Bao is like is an up and coming jungler. Game 1, he went off on Olaf. Game 2, he gets Olaf again. So basically, my problem with this draft for top esports, which maybe this is obviously part of the reason why they ended up losing this game, is that they're putting Knight onto Set. It's just not the kind of champion that Knight should be playing. Set is a flex pick that is very popular, but it just doesn't fit what they need him to be doing, in my opinion. And I mean, this was another game where RNG just jumped out to a pretty big lead. Xiao, who do you think you are? Once again. See, and this is kind of why Knight doesn't have the same playmaking potential on Set. Like the plays that you can make as Set often require you to sacrifice your own life. And that's really where the game kind of ends. There was one team fight at the end. I wanted to show you this one play specifically. Man, that is some good coffee. Oh my god. So good. Alright, let me get the pen. Alright, so right here we have a 3,000 gold advantage for RNG. We have 4 dragons, so the Infernal Soul is worth another couple thousand gold. Top Esports managed to get Baron because they punished RNG for overstaying in the base. But RNG is looking to come in. So actually, that's actually pretty funny. I didn't realize that before. So basically, because it's an Infernal Soul, the rift changes, and there are additional blast cones that spawn like right over here, and there's a few more that spawn throughout the jungle. In most games, Xiaohu would not be able to come in from this angle without using his flash, but didn't have to use the flash because there was a blast cone right here. And this is one of the reasons why I think Xiaohu is a very good player. Able to make game-winning plays. Like, this didn't turn the game or anything like that, but this is not a simple play to make against pro players. So Xiaohu blast cones over the wall. And right now, we see Kennen is in the bot lane, so Kennen's all the way down here. And we have 4 players from Top Esports. So Xiaohu's goal is to throw his ball somewhere into this area to hit as many players of Top Esports as possible. So first, and this is a micro thing. I'm not saying that it's difficult to do. I'm just saying this is what he did. So he used Spellbinder, which is damage amplification, and he used the Hex Tech item, which slows everybody down. So now Jackie Love and Nautilus are slowed a little bit extra, which makes it easier for the ball to land. So the ball goes in. The ball goes in, and instantly Xiaohu is looking to ult. So this was a very not risky play, but it wasn't guaranteed to work because there wasn't any hard CC onto these champions, but it's like pixel perfect too, which is really the funny part. Which it's not necessary that he was intending to do it this way, but basically, so the shockwave animation starts up, and Ezreal's right on the edge. So Ezreal's going to try to E away. So Arcane Shift away. Nidalee can try to pounce away. So they're moving in opposite directions, really, because the ball's in the middle of them. But as the animation finishes for the ultimate, Ezreal's E animation doesn't get off fast enough. So even though Ezreal's body ends up over here, all of the damage all the damage counts. And that's a game-ending play. So I mean, good for them. The one thing I would say about the JDG match is JDG won the first game, right? I didn't stay up to watch those, but that's pretty tilting. All right, so let's go to the games for today. So there are some Brazilian matches on today. Let me get up the results for yesterday, actually. There were no DraftKings contests for CB Law yesterday, but there are for today. Man, I got this new espresso from Nespresso. I have one of those machines. It's like an iced coffee. Put some turbinado sugar in there. Oh my god. Unbelievable. So good. So good. I'm going to need to have another one of those. So yesterday we had INTZ against Pain Gaming. Let's go to the scoreboards. Put it on the board. Yes. Alright. So we had Pain Gaming beat INTZ 15-5. Kaboom beat Santos 18-14. Santos has a new jungler they're playing with. Oh, I need to make sure I get the right 80 carry into my lineup for that. Furia beat Flamenco 19-9, and Vivo Kid beat PRG. So I mean, those are some matches that I would not necessarily pick to go that way. So I'm glad I didn't do it yesterday. What are the standings like? Flamengo, it's pretty surprising. They've really been underperforming since B-Voy came into the lineup. That was expected to help their team a significant amount. All right, so Kaboom against Furia. Kaboom should win that one. Basically, this split, Kaboom didn't have Parang, and Parang was their best player last split, but they've managed to do a pretty good job even without Parang. So it just gives it like kind of shows that most League of Legends teams are not just one player. I don't think Kaboom has the same upside without Parang, but they've been playing pretty well. PRG against Flamengo. So PRG, they have FNB. FNB is a good top laner. I always like playing FNB on DraftKings because he fits into a lot of the good stacks. Like, you can do top support, you can do top 80 carry. You don't often have to do top support though. But like top mid, top 80 carry for like a 4-2-1 or a 4-3. So both sides in that match are pretty interesting. I think that has a chance to go off as a match. Santos against INTZ. Santos is the most volatile team in the league, so whenever Santos is playing, you should probably be getting both sides of that match because they're willing to fight at any point because they think they're better than everybody else, which is pretty cool. And then PNG against Vivo Kid. Pain Gaming's the better team. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but they are the better team. The Dallas Cowboys, of course. So Kaboom, Flamengo, PRG. Santos on ITZ. So I would probably bet on Santos. That's fine for that. Yeah, so yesterday V5 was a plus 215 dog. That's a big number. I should have played that. 400 plus 334. I should have played this as well. After I started thinking about after I started making my lineups and including RNG, I should have actually just played the number. FPX against Dominus, minus 1,250. That's an obvious one. LGD against Billy Gaming. Billy Gaming still overvalued. This number should be higher. It should be like minus 300 to plus 250 or something like that. Not 350. Minus 3. It's pretty close. Probably closer to minus 300 though. So it's not the worst bet you can get for LGD. Maybe worth taking a shot on LGD tonight. FPX against Dominus. FPX really needs that match. I don't see FPX losing that. That'd be insane if they lost to Dominus. LGD against Billy Gaming could be a good DraftKings match. There are no more LCK matches for the week. Closer played again last night, which was interesting. At least one of the games. I'm not sure if he played both. I could check that. Actually, it's not even on here yet. So then we have the LCS. So Golden Guardians against CLG. Let's get the results from yesterday up on the screen as well. All right. Golden Guardians against CLG. Okay, so Golden Guardians beat Cloud9, so they're going to be overhyped. CLG lost to Team Liquid. That's a closer match than you might think. Golden Guardians is a tier above CLG in my opinion, but CLG can definitely win that matchup, especially with Stixxay on Caitlyn. So Stixxay is someone who's been playing Caitlyn for a long time, like when he first came into the League of Legends scene, and it's like there's a certain play style that most Caitlyn's have to use because she does go through parts of the game where she's not very strong. So there is some additional like mastery of the champion, but the changes that were made to Caitlyn do not justify how much it's been played in professional. So like the reason you might see less Aphelios against Caitlyn is because Caitlyn is a lane bully and can punish Aphelios' short range. But even in that scenario, if Aphelios loses lane and then swaps out to a Dragon Fight, swaps out to a Rift Herald, and gets a kill, he's going to get very far ahead. The amount that he can carry a game, as opposed to Caitlyn, is much higher. But as time goes on, people will continue to get better at drafting against Aphelios, so it's a double-edged sword. 100 Thieves against Immortals. So 100 Thieves lost to FlyQuest. Immortals beat Dignitas. I love Immortals. Thank you, Immortals, for winning me money. I am not convinced that 100 Thieves is good. So I will probably just go back to Immortals on this one. This is an okay real-life bet. You'd probably want the number to be a little higher because public perception would have this line a little bit off of this. They're trying to get action onto 100 Thieves. Cloud9 against TSM. TSM definitely has a chance against Cloud9, but this seems like a letdown spot for TSM. TSM beat Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses had a horrible draft. Kennen, Graves, Zoe, Ashe, and Senna. The reason it's so bad is because it's so difficult to play. So Huni on Kennen is going to be looking for flanking opportunities to engage onto the back line. But he went some kind of crazy, like, on-hit into flanking build. Like, he should have went straight AP, glass cannon, trying to blow people up. So that was a mistake. Svenskeren on Graves. Graves is a very good champion, but it's much more difficult to play when you don't have any engage, any hard CC tank from your bot lane. So we had Graves, we had Zoe, we had Ashe, and we had Senna. So, I mean, it does, like, the way that you would want to play this is Evil Geniuses gets ahead using the lane pressure from Ashe, Senna, which isn't that much more than what you can do on Caitlyn and Morgana. You win this matchup, basically. At least you can shove in this matchup. Huni should beat the Malphite. And then you have the advantage in the jungle. So you have to use the jungle advantage and the potential mid lane advantage. Bjergsen's very good at Zillion and can wave clear very easily. So you basically need to get a lead, get a dragon lead, and then force fights around the third and fourth dragons that allow Kennen to come in with his TP and flank, while these four champions maintain their position around the dragon. And that's very difficult because the disengage is not simple to pull off from here. So you would really need TSM walking through choke points and then like the Evil Geniuses being able to punish that. Very difficult team composition. Very difficult. So big mistake, bad draft. And then Cloud9 played Aphelios and Nautilus, which I think is fine. This was not a drafting issue. The Golden Guardians just played well. The Scion's really good right now. Scion's a really strong champion because of the... Well, not a really strong champion. Scion is a very annoying champion to play against. Very good wave clear and has a surprising amount of damage. Lumberjack Scion. Lumberjack Scion. You heard it here first. C9 TSM. C9 TSM. So I don't see any huge issues here. Like I said, C9 is the big favorite, and they should be. TSM at plus 200 is probably not enough money to get me interested, but I will consider playing them on DraftKings for sure. I think TSM against Cloud9 could try to slow the game down. So this might be a spot where you don't even get full value out of C9. And then last match is FlyQuest against Evil Geniuses. So FlyQuest beat 100 Thieves. I'm not impressed. And then EG lost to TSM. TSM's a pretty good team, so I'm not too freaked out by that loss. But I am freaked out by that draft. But Evil Geniuses, Dignitas, these teams, they will often have one horrible game followed by a good game. So I'm really not concerned at all. I still prefer EG there. I think EG is a more talented team long term. FlyQuest, like, Power of Evil's good. Power of Evil's good. Power of Evil's pretty good. You heard it here first. But I still like Evil Geniuses. In order for them to get to the point where I think they deserve to be, they need to win these kinds of matchups. So I'm kind of stuck picking them. So maybe I'm biased. It's very possible. But that's basically it for that. Did not do well in the Shock Blast last night. I had a lot of JDG, like I said. So let's go to the NBA real quick. I don't play a ton in the NBA. I've said that in the past. But there are some really interesting tournaments. Like this one, the $40 mid-range jumper. That's a pretty good one. I had that TJ Warren call yesterday. I had the Kelly Olynyk call yesterday where I basically said, yeah, Kelly Olynyk, good player. I'm not sure how much he's going to play. And then he got there in garbage time. So it's not like I was right. It's like I was right. He did not have a big part of the rotation coming into that game. Come on, DraftKings. What are we doing here? Great. Error page. Thanks. Very useful. All right, so we'll go quickly position by position, and I will pay attention specifically to value plays. So first up, we're looking at point guards. So Shabazz Napier and Ish Smith. Shabazz Napier was disappointing in the first game. Some people might jump ship. Against Washington or against Brooklyn, you're going to want Ish Smith again, or Shabazz Napier again, and Ish Smith again. So I want both of those players. Good value on the slate today for them. Chris Chiozza, he was on the Wizards, so maybe you get a revenge narrative going. Tyler Johnson played okay in the first game. Jamal Crawford, it's unclear how much he's going to play in the next game. Tyler Johnson got a decent amount of run in the first game. Only played 18 minutes, so he scored a lot per minute. Maybe he gets more action because of that. So we have like 3 or 4 good value point guards so far. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum went off in their first game. He scored 50 points. Kemba Walker was on a minute limit, so Marcus Smart went off. It's going to be tough to play Kemba Walker until the minutes restriction gets lifted. So he only played 19. Maybe you can go back to Marcus Smart, but Portland against Boston, I don't think it's a good matchup for Marcus Smart. Maybe it is. He'll probably play another 35 minutes. But that's only going to get you to like 5x. So probably not enough value for Marcus Smart today. San Antonio and Memphis, Ja Morant. You can always play Ja Morant. 47, so that's about a 7x. And Ja Morant has triple-double upside, so I'm not afraid of 7,300 at all. Derek White played really well in their first game. Took on a lot of the additional scoring, had 8 rebounds. I'm not sure how often he's going to get 8 rebounds, so I probably wouldn't count on that. Still is a good player overall. Memphis is a pace-up spot, I think, for most teams now. DeJounte Murray is really the player that I would prefer to have between Derek White and DeJounte Murray. Murray is more of an elite talent, I think, and yeah, he's good. He's very efficient, has high fantasy points per minute. I always try to play DeJounte Murray because of the amount of minutes that he plays, it is more difficult for people to feel comfortable rostering him. De'Aaron Fox had a huge day the other day. 39 real-life points. Pretty good. But that's still only about between 6 to 7x, so not the best. Markelle Fultz only played 20 minutes. Probably not getting him into my lineups. DJ Augustin, I'm not going to play him with the other value that we have on the slate. So not really interested in De'Aaron Fox either today. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, I mean, you can always play James Harden. Yeah, 85. He scored like 20-something in the first quarter the other day. Pretty insane. Maybe this is a spot where Westbrook takes over the offense, but 6x isn't really the most amazing stat line. Is Eric Bledsoe out again? If Eric Bledsoe's out again, then it just makes me more interested in Giannis. Don't necessarily want to play George Hill. There's better value on the slate, I think. Dante DiVincenzo, not playing him. Austin Rivers always gets a decent amount of minutes, but like I said, the value is coming from other spots today, from other games today. So I don't feel the need to pay up at point guard. Dallas against Phoenix. So Dallas played Houston the other day, and Luka went off. Kristaps Porzingis went off. They'll probably be over-owned because of that, so should probably get off of them. If the game does go insane like the last one did, then Devin Booker should have a good game. Ricky Rubio is interesting. I don't love Ricky Rubio at 7,000. I prefer him to be like in the 6,000 range, because you do kind of need him to get a triple-double. So this is the kind of game that we're looking for, obviously. He can get to that 10x upside, just not very often. So actually, against Luka Doncic, he probably has good triple-double upside. I think both of the point guards will be looking for that tonight. Trey Burke was hot the other day. 31 real-life points. The ex-Knick, rest in peace. So Trey Burke, I think, is someone to consider for the additional value, or not the additional value, to compete with the earlier, easier value to get from these other games. So Trey Burke is interesting as a contrarian play, but I think it's unlikely that he gets there. Okay, so let's go to shooting guard. Karis LeVert, very high usage now, didn't have a very good first game, has the 60-point upside. This is probably a very good game to try getting Karis LeVert into your roster. Joe Harris, not very excited by Joe Harris. Troy Brown, I'm not excited about this guy either. I mean, that's basically it for that game. So I would say Karis LeVert so far is probably the best play. Jaylen Brown is less expensive than Karis LeVert. He has good upside, but he plays to his 5x most of the time. So do I want to go back to CJ McCollum? If the game stays close, you might want CJ McCollum. Lonnie Walker, a good value spot. 3,500, scored 16 real-life points, has additional upside because of the assists and rebounds. So, like, the stat line that we got from Derek White, I could see Lonnie Walker getting something like that, where he gets an additional 4 or 5 rebounds. He's a pretty long player, so just those rebounds coming out, like, further away from the basket, I think he has a good chance of getting a lot of those. And he can contest for the other rebounds as well. So I think without Memphis having insane interior players, maybe that's additional upside for Lonnie Walker. Dylan Brooks is a scorer, but is he going to score enough? Probably not. 129 to 120. So this should be another good spot for San Antonio. Typically, you don't want to play San Antonio in most of their games because they are not a fast team. But in the bubble, when they're trying to play younger and develop, and they're playing against the Grizzlies, I think it's still a good time to play the Spurs. There are a lot of good, like, very cheap players since the restart happened. Evan Fournier against Sacramento. So Sacramento is the team that San Antonio kind of went off against. So Evan Fournier has a good chance to go off. Terrence Ross could go off theoretically. Terrence Ross reminds me of TJ Warren, but he's like not as good of a scorer. He's equally willing to shoot, but he's just not as good. So Buddy Hield was ice cold in their first game. This could be an okay bounce back spot for him. Orlando doesn't really strike me as a team that's going to like go very far over. I think this was mostly because they were playing against Brooklyn. So, not sure how much I'm going to really play of them. Not my favorite game. Bogdanovich, good player. Need more secondary stats, but good player overall. DiVincenzo, Sterling Brown, Ben McLemore. I love Ben McLemore, but not getting enough minutes. Not interested in any of those other guys. Maybe Daniel House again if Eric Gordon sits. But that he's not listed as a shooting guard today for some reason. Dallas and Phoenix. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a pretty good first game. 24 real life points. Seth Curry had a bad first game. All right, so for shooting guard, I mean, you can pay up and feel pretty comfortable. And then you do have some value options with like Lonnie Walker. Let's go to small forward. TLC had a good first game. He's supposed to play more often, so that's somebody you want to watch out for the rest of this season. Jacques Vaughn talked about it too, so that seems to be something that will happen again. Isaac Bonga, I played him the first night. At that price, you can justify getting him in, but it's tough. This is actually a good matchup for him, so I do think Isaac Bonga, you can go back to him. Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, Carmelo Anthony. Don't love this spot for Boston or for Portland. 8,200, that's a lot. I don't want to play Jason Tatum at 8,200, really. Gordon Hayward, okay. Carmelo, putting up a lot of shots, taking a lot of rebounds. They call him Skinny Mello now, because he is skinnier. Probably not going to play any of those guys. DeMar DeRozan, 47. So he's very consistent. He almost always gets to like 5 or 6x, but he doesn't really kill a slate very often. Rudy Gay went 6x, but I don't think that I'm going to be playing Rudy Gay in most of these spots. Just doesn't have the high upside. Well, he does have high upside. Rudy Gay could get to 10x, but just not often. Don't really like any of those players. Aaron Gordon is always a triple-double threat. Jonathan Isaac. So I was reading something that said Jonathan Isaac coming back into the rotation kind of limits everybody's upside, which maybe it's true. Harrison Barnes. Don't love him. He kind of muddies the water as well. Kent Bazemore. Not a lot of players I love here. Small forward. Chris Middleton against Houston could be a good play. Didn't have a great first game, so everybody's not going to jam them into the lineup. Covington can always get to 50. Daniel House had a good first game. I had him in my roster. He went, I think, 8 or 9x. So those are really the three small forwards you'd want to consider from this game. And then Luka Doncic is always in play. Tim Hardaway Jr. is often in play. Dario Saric. I love Dario Saric. Good. This is a good matchup for Saric as well, because he could defend Porzingis a little bit. He could defend Luka, kind of. It's not a good matchup, but like I could see him switching on to Luka in some pick and rolls. Luka's a better athlete. Man, Bridges is playing a lot. So he has the 8x upside, but he needs to get those rebounds. Probably not going to play him. Power forward. Rui Hachimura. This could be a good spot. The big guys against Jarrett Allen. Mo Wagner didn't play very much. Lance Thomas got the start, only played 18 minutes. 16 minutes. Why are these guys not playing more minutes? Who's on the court? So they just have like a wide rotation. That makes me less interested in all of them. So Hachimura, because he might get some Jarrett Allen minutes. Nurkic had a good game, right? Yeah, Nurkic scored 50. 6 blocks, wow. Nurkic against Boston. Tice, Cantor. Nurkic might get taken off the court because of matchups. Gordon Hayward, Zach Collins, Semi Ojeleye. Not a huge fan of any of these guys because of the matchup. There's like nothing to exploit, I guess. Jaren Jackson Jr., very good player. This is like the perfect kind of spot for Jaren Jackson Jr. So he just went 43 minutes. Oh my god. He shot 15 3-pointers? What are you doing? Wow. You need this. You need this in your life. Especially against San Antonio. So he is a better athlete than every big man, I think, on San Antonio. Yeah. Jaren Jackson Jr. is in a great spot tonight. Brandon Clark also had a good game. 21 and 7. Those two players might not work out well with each other in most games. And it did go to overtime, so you have to be careful that some of these numbers were inflated. But I think matchup-wise, Jackson makes a lot of sense. Ooh, Kyle Anderson revenge game. Only got 18 minutes. So Brandon Clark is interesting. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. the most. And it's because San Antonio against Memphis should have Jaren Jackson Jr. being the best big man on the floor for most of the game. Aaron Gordon. Bielitsa. I love Bielitsa. Doesn't have the extremely high upside, but if you need somebody at 5,200 to fill in a spot, you can consider him. Giles only played 4 minutes. Giannis is always in play. Marvin Williams. Not going to play him. Nobody there besides Giannis. Ayton put up an okay performance in his first game back. Against Porzingis, he should be fine. This is a good spot for Phoenix because Dallas will run out like Maxi Kleber plus Porzingis or like something like that where you can justify leaving multiple big men on the floor so you can have Saric with Ayton, which is good. Boban's going to get some minutes, but Boban is tough to roster. Oh my god. You need to get a spot where Boban's going to play a lot of minutes. So this is interesting. Porzingis and Ayton. But that's about it. Like, none of them... I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably the best center play tonight. But you need to figure out if you're playing him for value, if you're playing him for his upside. And then build your lineup accordingly. So Jarrett Allen's always in play. Thomas Bryant's always in play. Yeah, 35 minutes. He can get to 7x. He can get to 10x, I think, as well. So Jarrett Allen was disappointing in the first game. I would go back to Jarrett Allen. Tice had a good first game. Got to the 7x. But if you can get Tice versus Jaren Jackson Jr., you're going to go with Jaren Jackson Jr. Nurkic had a good game. I'm going to fade Nurkic. I'm not playing him in my lineup. I should probably reserve this. Gorgie Jang is interesting. But if you're playing Clark or Jackson, probably not. Valanciunas is interesting. I think this could be an okay matchup for him, where he would get something closer to 30 minutes. Because if Pirtle is on the floor, you could play like Jaren Jackson Jr. plus Valanciunas, and then it would be Pirtle and Rudy Gay. Maybe it's going to be tough for him to be on the floor. Like, Valanciunas against Pirtle makes sense. It's tough, though. I guess it's not guaranteed. Richaun Holmes is always somebody that I like playing. He has good upside. Against Orlando, he'll be the most... he'll be the first or second most athletic. Actually, there's 3 athletic big men. So Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac, and Richaun Holmes are all very athletic. That might actually increase the amount of minutes that Richaun Holmes plays, because he'll have to... This is good. So he got 24 minutes after needing to self-quarantine. I think there could be additional upside for Richaun Holmes tonight. I'm interested in that. Then we have Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez is always in play. He has the 50-point upside. More difficult against the Rockets, though, for sure. Jeff Green. Jeff Green's listed as a center. And then Porzingis and Ayton. So that's basically it for the NBA today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck out there. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.